Go to the stream now.
We have Hawker decided to go for succession ban first and we ban Russia, China, and second. All of these are signature successions from Spook. And Spook ban experience, second, and chat.
Like of China for both players and Russia and HQ are each other.
Yes. Hawker ban Russia, Spook ban HQ. That's the only difference in the ban. Yeah.
No. Have Reconcile and Ravens pass if we go for more standard maps. Seems we might.
Reconcile. Reconcile.
Some more standard maps than the ones we've seen in the previous set. And so the summer standard.
I would say that it's surprisingly that Reconcile is not the most picked in this tournament. It's actually the Raven Pass and this road.
I think Raven's Pass is a map that a lot of people feel more comfortable playing, while Reconcile has some people who are very into it and some people who aren't, so there's a lot larger of a gap for it in general.
Yes, Reconcile is mostly map for the skills, right? So that's why a lot of people wanted to ban the Reconcile early. And also some players don't know how to have a build order on Reconcile.
Wait. I have Red Sun Canyon and Infield. He just banned Bloodfield.
Yes, this is fantastic.
Assuming we're going to see Kingsword as a decider, but
Spook said that he's be right back, and he also gave me the pick already for this
oh,
map.
has he already banned the map as well?
Yeah, Kingsword decider.
We've seen a lot of Kingsword this tournament.
Yeah, Kingsword is the most popular pick in this tournament.
It was one of the simpler maps to play.
Let's see what our hacking will pick for this. Okay, so we had a pick already. It's going to be USA versus Russia.
Let's see.
Player defeated.
On the top left side we have Hawking playing as Russia, going for a slight MCV move to begin with. And wait, turn off the taunts actually.
That was the laugh from Hawking. He just laughed at his opponent, and this is of arch rivalry between each other. So that's why but are talking each other now.
We do see a MCV move to have the closer expansion for the further ore first, which is a single dwell ore, but we're probably gonna see a war factory go in the second ore refinery on the other side, while the allied player is going for a bit more of a standard base build with the refinery was the close ore. We see the war factory from we actually see the field bureau, so we might be seeing some very early Soviet aggression. That's a lot of dogs. I don't think they get any connies. He keeps expanding towards the top side. When you're going for the second refinery, he's probably gonna use it on the same ore patch. Gonna be a very late war factory if he will even choose to go into it, but on the other hand we have a second ore refinery coming after the war factory on the allies. Then more colonies, we have shock troopers on the field. The shock troopers are still gonna be very expensive with the 2 minor income. We only have like 2 of them in the pyro, and we also have an engineer, actually even 2 of them. I'm assuming we're gonna see the oil being taken over, and probably well defended at that point. Spook is going for some GIs to try to catch up in army size. Currently still rather behind, but there's still plenty of time to actually catch up. I have double barracks on 2 miners. Actually almost going broke, pretty much just spamming conscripts at this point. I'm not even
Yeah,
sure if a
good
second
one.
barrack makes the Connie production much faster at all.
Yes, and he's going for the bunker rush at the moment.
Here pre-placed pillbox, we see some bulldogs on the field. Pillboxes might be able to salvage a lot of this. We do see some pyros scattered around across the build order. We do see the war factory. We finally see some miners being produced the old-fashioned way. The bulldogs being built, they're gonna be able to crush. He's getting split, so gonna have a bit of a hard time actually defending both sides. Target Painter Bulldog is slightly behind the army. We have a bunker. It's not gonna have a very easy time taking down the MCV. It's not even actually going for the MCV to begin with. The tanks do not go for the crushes. And the top blob is pretty much exclusively Connie, so they're not going to get a lot. I think they actually got called off with the rest of the army. So Spook actually survives this attack, while Hawk is finally getting his third miner down. No actual building production, he's trying to go for shockies, he's trying to make a terror drone happen. But Spook actually has a lot of tanks, which are going to be a threat to the base. A terror drone happens, but he's going to take down the war factory. At the cost of all the tanks. But he's going to tech up in the background, he has a lot more miners, he's going to keep stalling the miner production. Hawk is not even going for an additional war factory, he's going for an additional ore refinery at this point. We see some seals, we see some IVs, we're probably gonna see those being combined. We have the Mercury uplink. We're not going to flying units right now, even though not much of the army or Hawking can currently handle that. But flak traps are in flak troopers are in production, however, as a preemptive measure. We see a bunker quickly being approached and responded to. Spook still does not have his oil taken back, even though he has built some engineers. The engineers have... One of them has died to the bunker. The engineers are most likely for actual repair IVs at this point. The IV loading, we see the war factory back out of the field. It's still not doing miners, it's going for Tigers immediately, despite being pretty much already broke. The Tigers and Connies. I think those are 2 Seal IVs which are going on the flank, and they're actually gonna have a pretty open line towards the MCV at this point. And as Hawking is going for a push, he's probably not very likely to actually see that attack. The Seal IVs are deployed, going for one of the barracks, going for the power. It's going to depower, and one of them is going for the Conyard. It's going to land it. The Conyard is not gonna die to that attack. The field boar, however, is. I'm not entirely certain what the second building that died was over there. And Hawk is gonna have a very hard time actually recovering from the economical damage. Currently on low power, with a radar. The second power plant is not actually going to even put him back on high power, but he's immediately going for the nuclear reactor, which is gonna take a long time to actually build. On the other hand, we already have Riot Troopers being built. Riot Troopers and Abrams, and the army size is already catching up as well. Riot Troopers are going to thin to the Connie herd by dozens. And despite actually floating 8,000 at the moment, there's not a lot of production and not a lot of power to fix that production. Tiny IV is already on the field. Tiny IV cleaning up. You don't have a lot of Abrams, but you don't need a lot of anti-tank. We mostly need anti-infantry right now. Especially as the war factory was currently building miners. It's starting the miner production. The Tiny IV going towards the MCV at this point. It's going to not... Oh, it got the C4 down. We do have the radar and the war factory, and MCV could be rebuilt at this point. The power has managed to drop before we're actually losing everything. The riot troopers are going to leave a hole in those Tesla troopers. And the Tanya AV is going to remove the rest of the Tigers. It's mainly just the flak troopers at this point. Tanya AV going elite. The entire army is just sitting back and looking at everything else happening.
It's a GG 1-0 for Spook, and Spook is only one step to qualify for the knockout stage now. And we're waiting for the second map. The second map is going to be Raven Pass, it's the half pick.
While Reconcile was indeed Spook's pick, we did actually see Hawking going for the early aggression, and the immediate response to that failing was just going all in with the tanks, taking all the damage you can do, punish every step of the way through.
And Spook picked the number 2 positions at the top. Okay, so we see the pick, the suppressor pick. Hot decide to keep his Russia as Spook has checked his suppressor to execute here. It seems that Huff just believed that his bunkers will have worked without the lag, so he wanna try again. This is a very risky tactic plan, as Spook has learned about the potential strategy that Huff can do.
Player defeated.
It's not. On the top side we have Spook playing Epsilon HQ. Opting to not move the MCV and currently in Series 1-0. And on the bottom side we have Hawking playing Russia. Also not going for an MCV move. Usually when we don't see the MCV move we can either expect a very tech speedrun or a very early aggression, and I'm kind of expecting for HQ we're probably gonna see the first of those two, and for the Russia we might be seeing the latter. First oil visit ready to be captured for both players. Field Brewer already in production, we might be seeing a very similar push from the previous game. However, at this point, having the gem base would have, the gem ore patch, gem patch, would actually be a lot more effective for the sake of spamming shortkeys, but we do see the double refinery. Starting to look very similar already.
It's going for the similar style like last match.
See the pre-placed sentries denying the scouting. A pretty big difference is both that we don't quite have the luxury of the pillboxes costing 0 power for the Epsilon player at this point, and the map is very much, or the base itself is very much more stretched out than what we had on Reconcile. So it's gonna be harder to defend on this setup. We keep seeing sentries being placed down, even though Hawking is currently broke actually. See the second power plant in production. Well, we already see all the money being spent on exclusively aggression. We have 2 Pyros, we have 3 Sharkies, and a lot of Carnies. I cannot see how full each miner is, so I don't know if it's proper actual miner micro for the sake of recovering and not going to 0, but Spook is also currently actually zeroing out the bank in order to survive this. He does have a second barrack, so he's going to produce units a bit faster. He's still going for ghost miners. Due to the shockies, you can't immediately just go for crushes. He's not building more infantry right now. He's actually broke. He's still going for miners. He does have an additional barracks after this one goes down, but the ghost miner is going for some crushes, but he is, well, he the scatters. It's still going to do a pretty big number on the Carnies. And he's low power, so those are not going to actually... Oh, he lost in the war factor, which is already back to high power. He does already call GG.
What are we seeing on this game? Basically just...
Game's not entirely over yet, as... Okay, he's actually spending everything to make this work. Even though he is finally getting some minus on the field, he did go for more Tigers first. They're not being sent over for more attacks. We have 6 miners alive, we have the barracks, 2 of them. We don't have a war factory, it's currently being built. And Hawk is not currently going for an additional army, so he's going to start macroing in the background and take the advantage he got from the push. Going for the radar dish, he does have the power to sustain it. Spook's base is very expanded and 3 of his miners are long distance mining currently. Going for an additional oil refinery. He is mining out the gems, he's got 5,000 in the bank, he does have some additional engineers, we're probably gonna see some repair stingers. Wondering what tanks we'll see to actually back up the repair stingers, or if we're just going to see some backdoor attempt. The Gatlings are in production, we hear the bunker, been deployed before power and the barracks, and the stingers are not quite the units you want to use to deal with that. He is going to be able to keep the power alive, but he does need to pull up the entire army for that. We have 7 miners, we have a couple of spooks just chilling by the base. We have a third power plant with spooks to go in most of them at this point. And the hub is being built, we're not going to probably get to see as much tier 3 Epsilon as we'd probably like in order to survive that counterattack. He does have a bigger army size, but a lot of those are stingers currently. He does have the bank to keep spamming some units, and with the double barracks it's not actually that far behind. Tigers on the side. Those might be Engie Tigers or something more sinister at this point. It's all Engies. And it's gone.
Got you.
And it's sold.
And Spook has no SCP left as he didn't build any.
And there's no radar, so there's no MCV being rebuilt either. While Hawk is currently on tier 3 and starting to produce Volkov. We do have access to a depth, which can keep this going for a bit longer, but okay, it's gonna be a rather limited Epsilon gameplay at this point. The bunkers keep being deployed to take down the power. The Gats are on guard for those. Loading Opus tanks, but we already see the next attack. Disco is out on the field. Whilst there are repair stingers on the field. Okay, Chisco dies of natural firepower. There's a lot of adepts, they actually do a pretty decent job at keeping this attack down, but the longer this game goes on, the harder it's gonna be for Spook to actually do anything later down the line. As we even have hammer defenses being placed in Hawking's base, so at this point there's not a lot of backdooring that's gonna be simply done. We have Tesla cruisers in production, they're being built on the faraway refinery, even though he does have a frontline one. Volkov is back in queue. Industrial plant is being worked on. We have shadow tanks being built. And regular Russians and initiates are not going to be as performing. Oh, fuck, I need to mod to Twitch chat. Fuck them. Sorry about that. Bot spams in Twitch chat.
And we saw some Tesla content to take down the federal hub.
They're probably going to die for that attack and they're not going to take the lab. Taking the lab will stop adept production, which is probably going to be pretty significant. Also shadow tank production, which are being built currently, but I'm not sure if they're quite the right choice. Jetskoy taking down like 3 adepts already, but he does die. However, cost-wise, it's gonna be effective to keep doing those trades. He's building an additional refinery, he's pretty much going broke at all times, but he does keep building, he does keep spamming, and he does have a handful of miners currently. We have a very aggressive, pretty much all in at this point with the army from Epsilon HQ, but those 2 hammers are gonna do a big number on any form of tanks. The Adepts are working on salvaging the situation, but they're not quite dealing with the Desolators. This is the second time this game when he called GG, and this one's actually for good. Head into a 1-1, and we make it to King's Road. Given the recent experience with Russia, I'm assuming we're gonna keep seeing this pick. And given that China's banned, and Spook can also not play Russia, I'm assuming it's going to be either Russia vs HQ or Russia vs LC. This is generally agreed to be a very Russia-heavy map, so need to see what's going to happen. It is, however, a bit less open, and the base call is a bit healthier in terms of having your base stretched out, so we're probably gonna have a easier time actually defending as well. It's still gonna be a pretty close game, regardless. More likely than not.
Okay, we had the pick, and this is the third time in a row. Top get the Russia pick. And we see that Spook is picking Latin competitions.
Yeah, with China and Russia being banned, TLC is probably the closest pick you can have to competing on this map. Can't keep yourself alive as an HQ or anything of the sorts.
Defeated.
On the top right side, you have Spook playing as the blue Latin Confederation. And on the bottom left side, you have Hawking playing as the red Russia. Table those taunts across games. Actually, very loud relative to the game itself.
And this is the first time in the tournament where we see one guy pick the sense of passion for 3 maps in a row.
They do say if it ain't broke, don't fix it. He does turn around one of the engineers to get his oil from the base. Who does have a third engineer? He's probably going to try to go for the bottom middle oil as well, but he's probably gonna have to struggle to pass through those many conscripts. We see an MCV move already. Might just be an expansion at this point rather than anything particularly aggressive. But that does actually make the base a bit harder to defend, because you're now gonna have to, rather than the usual base scroll, you're gonna have to immediately start handling both the high ground with the mining in the barracks and probably the low ground with... It's either gonna be the war factory or a new ore refinery. We see some colonies, we see a sentry gun defending the barracks a bit. Colony production was stopped, we see Tigers already. We don't see the usual double refinery gameplay we've seen for the previous matches. I actually see Spook going for something a bit more similar to the double refinery gameplay at this point. As I think we're seeing Hawking going for a base call using the power plants from the top side. We have the additional engineer, it's not going to be more likely than not. We're going to have a hard time going for the oil, given the colony numbers. But the Jaguars can actually go for some crushes at this point. He does scare away the colony blob. The Tigger is built, they keep chasing, they're not gonna kill anything else. The singular Tigger is probably going to kill a few colonies. They're sitting in the sentry currently. He does have both oils. He's going for a Tesla reactor. There's no field brewer on the field as of this point. Spook is broke and Hawking is on like 400 as well. Spook has just the 2 miners. Hawk has 3 currently. He does get the bottom refinery, was it? Currently outnumbering the colony numbers, but he does have to push uphill to actually get some more value. But he does have a lot of pressure going on. And whilst he's doing this pressure, he's actually getting minor numbers in the background. But so is Hawk. He's not cancelling the miner production, but he is mining from a single ore patch. And he's mining from the safest ore patch, so... The field brewer is out, we are probably gonna see a Shocky switch rather soon. Okay, the Shockies are in production. We have Lactopus in production for Spook on the other hand. Miners are still being built. We have all 3 ore patches being split on. Frontline barracks. More war factories. Hawk is going for a radar, but he's going to depower himself if he commits to it. He's going for a regular Tesla reactor, so he's going to make up for the power, but he is currently not actually on high power. Spook actually decides to kill the tech maintenance facility instead of taking it over, because he does not have a field bureau of his own to actually use for bunker. We see more miners, we see more barracks and war factories, simply faster production. Hawk is going for a reactor while Spook is mainly just base falling towards the middle. He's making an airbase as well, which is actually going to be a bit of a threat if Hawk does not keep going into Tigers. Which currently is not something that's happening. Mainly miner production. And the miner production is being harassed by the Jaguars as well. They're going to be pushed back from the front doors again. The Connie numbers are still handling the amount of shockies that are being sent towards them. 2 more miners being sniped, no Tigers have actually been lost to that, and I think that's a repair drone. An airbase is built, it's making foxtrots, we have an additional airbase being built. Spook has significantly more money than Hawk at this point, and Hawk is mining out his main safe ore patch. He is somewhat close to the top patch, which he can crawl up to, but he's losing more miners. The Shockies can simply not push into the Jaguars, while everything else just seems to kind of scatter down in the long run and keep perishing. The Foxtrots have kept being built, but they have not yet been used, even though AA is actually entirely gone. Another miner gone. Oilers are trying to salvage the situation. We actually have tier 3 down. Shitsko is being built currently. Another miner being sniped. Those are the last 3 miners. No, that's actually lying. Okay, now those are the last 3 miners. So 2, Shitsko is out. No, wait, that's 3 miners. Foxtrots have still not being sent anywhere. Radar dish is actually finally being built on. Funny numbers are finally starting to thin out. However, so is the entire army count for Hawking. He does have tier 3, but he does not have the money to actually produce much from it. The Foxtrots arrived at the front line, but they didn't shoot anything. And Volkov is out. He does have enough Foxtrots to just snipe Volkov in one simple volley. There's no AA, and no AA is actually being built either. And he has plenty of money to keep spamming these Tigers and Connies at this point. He does have the radar, he is going for a battle lab. The Foxtrots keep going to the front line, but they're not going for Volkov. Are they fine? Okay. They killed Volkov and they also got the boiler. That's just the 3 units remaining, and that's the entire army Hawking has. Spook could contest the remaining miners and push him away from the low ground yet again. The E-Rats are actually gonna do a very big number on the Connies, but... Shitsko is out, Volkov is back in. Foxtrots could handle Shitsko before he gets to do any big numbers. Okay, it went in a repair zone and got repaired out. Spook on 20k, Hawking still kinda broke. He is mining on the top side, he has started going for hammer defenses. But Spook is not capitalizing on this advantage. However, he's actually getting harassed at the backline. I think that was just the tank drop, which got mainly fire from the Foxtrots themselves. There's still no AA, the Foxtrots could do a lot more aggression. They're going for Volkov yet again, they're going to take him down. There's finally some AA being forced out. Spook does have tier 3 and he is building a nuke silo, so despite not actually pushing his advantage, he is trying to simply stall the game out and take up. he does have a lot more map control. He does still have the bottom ore patch, which is quite massive, but he is running out of a lot of the easier golds to access. He is on 3 oils. The Foxtrots are doing sweeping runs to keep cleaning up some of the stragglers on the base. Morales is out, Buratinos are out. Water quads are in production, no actual tanks being built as of this very moment. Nuke is still in production. Hawk gets the high ground, but he could just get walked around, but Volkov is surrounded on the other hand. The Irad should be able to catch him off. Aiming for the tanks, the Buratinos are unable to actually aim properly up the hill. They do hit a volley. That's every unit Hawk has again, except the Shitskoy and 2 Irads. Shitskoy is gonna go for a Borillo, it's going to get repaired. No, it actually got a repaired one. Okay, but there's still 2 more to salvage. Another tank drop in the back. The Boilers should be able to take down the hammer defenses without very big casualties. Tank drop in the back base again. The Foxtrots have... It's gonna be the mortar quads that are gonna salvage that, but they actually do a lot of damage to the airbase. The Foxtrots actually went for the tanks and they did a very good number on the Tesla cruisers. Hawk does have an airbase of his own, he's finally starting Foxtrot production, but does he have the money to sustain this?
Spook is giving him the chance to fly at the moment. That's why he hasn't ended the game yet, I can feel. They
Spook has-
really know each other.
Yet again punishing the lack of AEA. Is he forcing still Tesla cruisers, no AEA from him for AQ? Or just take down that Foxtrot, he's kind okay, there's some static defense AEA. We have a third airbase and the nuke is still on the field. Industrial plant is being worked on from Hawk. A bunker is going to kill some Foxtrots, it does get spotted, it's going to get fired at, which is actually going to deal significant damage to the own buildings, but nothing to actually worry about. We have a Stalin's Fist from Hawk, as the industrial plant is still being worked on. Seems we're gonna see a somewhat aggressive deployment for the Stalin's Fist. The vultures are just going to harass all the units. Nothing to really bother them, besides the static defense. Another wave of tanks being dropped in the base. Not much from the army to actually handle them, but a lot of airplanes are gonna go down to that. The choppers are going to handle the rest though. Nuke in 1 minute. Year 3 is quite appealing, the nuke reactor is probably going to take down the radar as well. Kirov is trying to be built on Hawk. He did catch up on money, so he does have 11k right now, but he still doesn't have an actual army size. Here's the negotiator. That's a lot of things going down in one volley.
And the hero is out.
Most of the miners are exclusively mining on the low ground, they're not defended, so at any point he could just sweep in to clean up.
And the
Good
hero
is
is
being
out.
promised.
And just a lot of buildings from Spook at the moment.
Oh, the Kirov is actually doing stuff in the back of the base. And the Kirov was built from the fucking Stalin's Fist. It's probably still not gonna actually turn the game, but like... It's funny. The single fire turret actually takes down the tier 3 after the nuke as well. It doesn't quite get the industrial factory, industrial plant. Okay. Ketskoy gets taken out by prepared ones yet again. Most of the mining operations are happening very exposed, so at any point they could be just attacked. There's probably not enough Tigers to actually take care of the amount of vultures we have on the field, but... Hawk is probably going, yeah, he's going to try to force a nuclear reactor. He does not have tier 3 and everything as well at the moment, but neither player actually does. The nuke has also been removed with that play. Spook is still ahead by a pretty large margin, but it did equalize a lot more of the map. Volkov is in the middle of everything, but he's going to actually catch Morales. And the entire army is actually running away from Volkov. Okay, the boilers are firing, but they're being mainly stunned. Okay, the vultures have taken Volkov down. The vultures are sitting in the back of the army, trying to cut off the armies, I suppose. They're working on the Tigers. There's not a lot of AA left. There hasn't really been a lot of AA to begin with, to be fair. The hammer defenses are still being annoying as ever in terms of actually pushing into a base with tanks. See Jaguar tanks in production, we have a second nuclear reactor being built to prevent what just happened, pretty much. The miners have been harassed from pretty much any mining point, but Hog does have 20k currently floating, so it's not an immediate urgency to actually have mining up and running. However, do know that Spook, while he has 40k floating, he also has like 6 war factories producing tier 1 tanks at once. So he's going to start spending that entire backup worth of money. And he's finally going in for an all-in push. Most of the army, the entire units left are just the AA Tigers and those 3 Sharkies, which by the time I'm done finishing the sentence, they're gone. Desolators are trying to be worked on, Rhino tanks with elite reserves, I think. Oh. There was an icon for elite reserves, I think, I don't know. I think there's a single miner left. Hammer defense goes down. The vultures are probably gonna try to deploy fire on the reactor. Hawking calls GG. Isco is actually gonna take down some Buratinos, but the game is actually over. Spook takes the series with a 2-1.
And Spook has qualified to the next round. Hawk is eliminated after a very good fight against Spook. The shipping rapidly ended with the win of the Spook, the older rider here. And we have the highlight of the match and possibly the highlight of the tournament with the King of Cloud on the building